life.
When I sing to the river, the river sings back to me.
Find the fighter.
I can hear the voices calling.
Take things into your own hands to take
From the time when time began. I can feel its cooling water, turning rocks to grains of sand. Long ago spirits are asking, what of my story do you know? Long ago
Hello, everybody. Do you want to learn about Lingua Americana? I'll teach you. Lingua Americana. What is that?
American languages.
Run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. Little pig, let me come in. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin, or a huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. Double scoops, double scoops, double scoops, double scoops, double scoops. Talking about real ice cream. 2 scoops, baby.
Thank you, Joshua. I speak slang, but speaking slang doesn't mean that I hang with the gang and yo usually gets the attention of my bro. No, there was no disrespect intended. So when the offer is extended, don't be offended, yo. You see, I knew just what money meant when he called honey a dime piece. Not in terms of dollars or cents, but a fine woman, a sexy female, not funding for something that's wholesale or retail. You see, where I'm from, a nice car is called a fat whip. And the place where we live, my peeps, they call it the crib.
God, Dave, you's in order. Lum, God, I've been laying off to ask you what you done with that turkey. Where is it?
Well, when you told me to go arrest Jim and the turkey, I took and went around to his ma's house. He wasn't there. So I turned around and made it toward Daisy's house. And I caught up with him just under that Chinaberry tree, just before he gets to Daisy's house. And he was making it on towards her house with the turkey in one hand and his gun crossed his shoulder when I hailed him. So I hollered, I said, "Hey, Jim, now you hang on there a minute." And he dropped that turkey and wheeled and threw the gun on me.
God, he drawed a gun on the city marshal?
Yes, sir, he sure did. Thought I was Dave. Told me, "Don't you come another step unless you want to see Jesus." So I hollered back. I said, "It's me. I ain't no Dave Carter." So he dropped his gun, took it off of me, and when I went on up to him and put him under arrest. And I locked him up in your barn, and I brought you the key, didn't I?
You sure did. But God, I asked you, what become of the turkey?
Well, turkey wasn't picked or nothing, so I put him under arrest too, just like you told me.
God, Lum, what did you do with the turkey after you put him under arrest?
Well, see, now, Jim, he didn't want to come with me until he could get the turkey to Daisy's house. But, see, I was up so close on him, he couldn't get his gun up. So I throwed my .32-20 in his face, and I told him, "Don't you move. Don't you move, I'll burn you down. I got my burner cocked dead in your face, and I'll kill you down just like good gas went up. Come on with me." So I took his rifle and then picked up the turkey, and I marched him off to your cow lot. Asked him, didn't I do it? I told him, I said, "I know you Westerns go for bad, but I'm your match." I said, "You may be slick, but you can stand another greasing." "No, sir, I ain't scared of nobody. I'll put the whole town under arrest."
God, Lum, if you don't tell me what you done with that turkey, you better. I'll lam you over the head with this mallet. What did you do with that gobbler turkey?
Well, being as he wasn't picked or nothing, I know you didn't want to be bothered with him. So I took and carried it over to Miss Blunt's house, and she put up some water, and we set up late Saturday night picking the turkey. And then the next day, she sort of cooked them off and baked them up with some stuffing and such, so that's what he'd keep.
Didn't you know my wife know how to cook? Go fetch that turkey here and don't let no dead lights fall off of you on the way.
Well, I don't expect you there anymore, Mr. Clark.
How come?
Well, you see, I happened to pass by there on Sunday, and I just had a little off the breast, and then everybody else was eating turkey too, so I had some off the shoulder, and maybe a mouthful or two of gravy, and then some of the leg with some of the ham still on, and I figured I was doing right. The turkey was killed for Miss Daisy in the house, so Dave was all locked up and Dave was all hurt up, and Jim was all locked up, so. My name is Jomo Peters, and I am a fan of Zora Neale Hurston, and I just went through some of her works, and this piece reminded me of the stories my father and family used to tell. It's funny because I know that when I was younger, I could speak like totally perfect, proper English, and I also spoke in dialects, but I didn't realize that I was kind of doing that until it was pointed out that that's what people did. Like even people spoke kind of American and like I guess what they started calling Ebonics or Black familiar language. It's almost a different language. There are, and so I don't know, trying to speak an old Black dialect is something, it's something like that, but it's still trying to learn a new way of speaking. And I hope I pulled it off. I don't know, it's hard to kind of get the language down when you're not familiar with it kind of intimately, so you have to, knowing that at the same time that you're sort of bilingual and kind of matched to that language in a certain way. It's familiar while being unfamiliar at the same time, but it's interesting to try and suss out like the meeting points and the variant points. And I tried to slip into it. I don't know. I hope it pulled it off.
Why am I always watching boring TV instead of writing poems about my ancestors? Sitting here lost in this foggy dream, I'm trying too hard not to live life without them. Alone on my own, nothing to do but stay doubting. But shoot, sometimes I just be feeling like my grandma, Minnie Wilson, is bored in this body. And her ma, Rebecca Paget, is bored in this body. And her man, Norman Wilson, is bored in this body. And they ma, Henrietta, is bored. I hear them off chattering as they strut around this house, the living room, the kitchen, and resting on my bed by the altar. Charmaine is done stuck and broken, floating like a ghost in this empty space. This picnic done need to wake up. Done need to shake the dust off them achy bones and dance, stomp them feet, twerk out their bum, clap them hands. Anything other than this sitting nonsense. Sinking so low, them clavicles done sunk. Tain't too hard to light a candle, drop $1, shake a jar. This picnic ain't getting too far. Then my daddy's daddy, Martin George Porter, pipes in with, What you want, Shami? Just tell us, baby, what you want. Forever finding myself squirming on this used couch, I tell him, I just want to be home. To know home. To know you. I want to remember my grandmama's touch. I want answers to my question. Where is safety? What is shelter? How do I love this body that so many hate? I just want to stop forgetting that I am possible to love. And now I'm crying. A little baby once more waiting to be held. I pull down the couch blanket, the one my Auntie Michelle sewed, and wrap it around my shoulders. 1 Peter 5:7 is stitched into the corner, and when I wipe my eyes with it, it's my grandpappy Martin who wipes them. He say to me, wipe that Porter nose and them eyes. You know them my eyes. Sit up straight like your grandma. You know you got her look. Shami, you got to love this body. 'Cause Minnie Wilson loves this body. Rebecca Paget loves this body. Norman Wilson loves this body. Henrietta loves you. And I, Martin George Porter, do too.
I'm Charmaine Porter. I'm a poet from Providence, Rhode Island. The piece that I read today is called Call Me at Home. And this piece was written, I was like a little depressed and had been watching a lot of like TV and hadn't written a poem in a long time. And so yeah, I think I just had to like connect with the spirit of my ancestors, and I wrote this piece. And as I was writing it, I was crying a lot, and but it got done. So the language in this piece is very important. It changes, the dialect that I'm using changes throughout the piece, depending on the speaker. And so when I'm the speaker, it's my own natural dialect. And then when it is an ancestor speaking, I chose to write it the dialect based on what I know of the Gullah Geechee dialect. So Gullah Geechee is, the Gullah Geechee people are descended from enslaved people who were brought over from West Africa and to the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. And my grandfather, Martin George Porter, is from Savannah, Georgia. It is very likely that he is of Gullah Geechee descent. When I first heard Gullah Geechee being spoken, it was a lot like, it was like there was something spiritual waking up inside of me. The language was very easy for me to understand and pick up on, even though I had never heard it before until I was an adult. And it's just, there was something about it that felt innate. Yeah, and so growing up, a lot of AAVE, or African American Vernacular English, is a lot of it derives from the Gullah Geechee dialect. It is a dialect that is a Creole of English, but also African languages, and to this day, it's still being spoken, and it's still influencing AAVE and English itself throughout the United States. Yeah, so the language of this piece really helps also in the performance of the piece, so that it's important that it flows. It flows. And if you know anything about Black language, you know that we are able to, as Black speakers, are able to switch up language very easily. And so, yeah, that was another huge influence on the performance of the piece.
Little Brown Baby by the great Black American poet Paul Laurence Dunbar, written in the dialect of the Negro of the time. Little brown baby. Little brown baby with sparkling eyes. Come to your pappy and sit on his knee. What you been doing, sir? Making sand pies. Look at that bib, you's as dirty as me. Look at that mouth. That's molasses, I bet. Come in, Marie, and wipe off his hands. B's gonna catch him up and eat him up yet. Being so sticky and sweet, goodness land. Little brown baby with sparkling eyes. Who's pappy's darling? Who's pappy's child? Who is it all that they never once tries for to be cross or once loses that smile? Where did you get them teeth? My, you's a scamp. Where that dimple come from on your chin? Pappy don't know you. I believe you's a tramp. Mammy, this here's some old straggler got in. Let's throw him out in the sand. We don't want no straggler laying around here. Let's give him away to the big boogeyman. I know he hiding around here near. Boogeyman, boogeyman, come in the door. Here's a bad boy you can have for to eat. Mammy and Pappy don't want him no more. Swallow him down from his head to his feet. Oh, there now. I thought that you'd hug me up close. Go back, old booger. You shouldn't have this boy. He ain't no tramp, no straggler, of course. He's Pappy's partner and playmate and joy. Come to your pallet now. Go to your rest. Wish you could always know ease and clear skies. Wish you could stay just a child on my breast. Little brown baby with sparkling eyes.
We Wear the Mask by Paul Laurence Dunbar. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. This debt we pay to human guile, with torn and bleeding hearts we smile, and mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but oh great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but oh the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask.
In my 40 plus years of professional experiences, I've had many conversations with other professional Black women about criticism of our tone in the workplace. This tone, whereby which Black women contribute to discussions and conversations with passion or commitment, can slow down the communication process, as some can sometimes not hear our messages or content because they concentrate on our tone. This tone is interpreted to be the speak of black women. Some might believe that it is part of our language. Sometimes the focus on tone by those that don't understand this is a way to avoid dealing with content that reeks of fear in some, that causes some to pay more attention to it than what black women have to say. This tone can come across loud, direct, and to other black women, humorous. It comes about when some black women are being their authentic selves professionally and personally. They are speaking freely, cutting to the chase in messaging. No time to waste, for they need to get things said. However, it is heard by those who don't understand our tone is intimidating. It causes some to believe that a black woman exuding any power with her words is angry. Whether it is at work and school settings on behalf of their children or in community work, the passion emanated in a black woman's tone can cause tensions to rise that have nothing to do with the task or message at hand. They have simply learned to say it loud or even softly. I'm black and I'm proud. They bring to their life situations culture, experiences, and contributions of a particular people without shying away from it. They never could afford timidity, and yet they have often been criticized for having strength. They understand their history, in which they have held their people together and fought alongside black men through slavery, Jim Crow, civil rights movements, the Black Power movement, and hell, black women's tone created the Black Lives Matter movement. What does a black woman's tone mean? It means that when they participate in dialogue with others of all races, they do so with the embodiment of blackness, passion, strength, and sometimes loudly, and sometimes with the look on their faces that only they can give someone they find totally a fool. We do this not to intimidate. Our tone oozes from us as we engage with others, even each other, even when we are not uttering a word. We come to multiple spaces of employment as parents and in community credentialed in the wisdom of our ancestors, the spirituality of our churches, and the acquired degrees from the academy. We serve as wise sages to generations that follow, to the groups with which we participate and those that we love intimately. We provide the black perspective on things when there is a need to, and there often is, without thinking that it is the only perspective, all the while embracing the exchange of ideas and perspectives with others. We do not avoid healthy conversations about race, gender, and sexuality. In fact, we welcome them. You just got to hear us too. We reappropriate the strong black woman image to include her vulnerabilities, scars, and pain. We get help professionally and personally when needed. We are comfortable exercising the power of any position we hold, whether in the home, in the workplace, or community. We use our power to uplift others, to defend others, and even at times to put others in check. We are okay to smile sometimes, and sometimes not if we don't want to. We express ourselves as we see fit. We no longer wear the masks that grins and lies. We refuse to be the mammy, but instead the mentor. We are professionals, experts, consultants, etc. We have moved beyond just caretakers and now speak with the authority of the accomplished. We point out inequities, inconsistencies, and hypocrisies that are important to blacks and others. We oftentimes have to use our tone to be taken seriously. We are comfortable looking like black women aesthetically. We keep our braided, cut, and coif crowns tight. We represent our heritage in dress in our various places of worship, employment, and community engagements. Looking regal is natural to us. We show up as black women. We present ourselves in our full blackness without diminishing others. We just do so in our tone. My name is Dr. Vanessa Johnson, and the piece I just recorded, The Tone of Black Women, is inspired by the fact of my professional years and my conversations with a lot of black women about how we try to communicate in these spaces in professional spaces and in sometimes community spaces, or when we have gone to PTA meetings and we've had to try to have this conversation. And then people were more concerned about how we said something than what we were saying. They were more concerned about how we said something than our concern about our children's progress in the school system, or how we said something than our advocacy for a cause. And so I was always in the back of my mind recording these kind of incidents about the tone of a Black woman and how it's often misinterpreted. But at the same time, it's always been needed to move things and progress causes forward. The language I use really has come from my years in growing up in Cleveland, Ohio in an urban setting, and then reading and my work in the Black Power movement and the way that they use change language then and the way the activists today use change language. So I'm inspired by that. And I also think about it in ways of how do we diffuse people in the room with us to make them feel comfortable. So I use a lot of the Black colloquiums or the Black ways of saying things as a way to diffuse or to relate to people in spite of degree level or all those kind of things, just to be common or feel communal with people.
Her eulogy, from the Black girl to the queen. She, born into promise and love, the answer to a prayer, and the gift ancestors prophesied, the celestial body made flesh. Trumpets blew and her family praised the Most High. She grew into herself with training and protection. The aunties were on alert and the uncles stared everyone down. She knew only love supreme. And then it happened. She awakened to the reality of this world. The girl baby became womanly. She grew a body that attracted boys and men. Her smile entranced all who came into her presence. She became confused and nervous. She lost her self-awareness and the delight of life. The rumor was she committed suicide. But all of us who knew know better. She struggled with the reality of being human instead of myth. Medical sources say she died of natural causes, but those who knew her know. She died from being silent when she should have been screaming, smiling when she should have been raging, from being sick and not wanting anyone to know because her pain might inconvenience them. She died of an overdose of people clinging to her when she didn't have enough energy for her own self. She died from myths that would not allow her to show her weakness without being chastised for being lazy or unworthy. She died from hiding her feelings until they became hard and bitter enough to invade her womb and her breasts like tumors. She died from being too black, and she died from being not black enough. Say, she died sacrificing herself for everyone, and yet all she really wanted to do was become a singer or a dancer or some magnificent something. She died from asphyxiation from holding secrets that caused her to have a nervous breakdown instead of a breakthrough. She died from being responsible because society decided that she was the last rung on the ladder, the mule of the world. Again, she became confused. But this time, she was reborn. She spoke truth to lies and grew strong. She decided guilt bred death. Humility was not going to be her humiliation. Her death was an incorrect estimation of her faith and her strength. She arose like the sun, and the glory of her God greeted her with love. The Most High said, "You have survived a darkness that was meant to kill you. Come into the light and let the fact that you chose life revive you." The girl, baby, became a woman, and then she became a queen of her own dominion. She became regent of her own life and lived to be supreme. Hey! Wah-ha!
Sure. My name is April Brown, and her eulogy from Black Girl to African Queen was a submission of a piece of work that I've been working on. And, it is truly a little autobiographical, but it's also just being a Black woman in the world and thinking about what that process is like, the transition from Black girl to Black woman. I think that for me, language is not as much a part of the piece for me as much as experience, right? It was like an experiential journey for me. I think sometimes in the world, women, particularly women of color, and specifically Black women, have this idea in the mind of the world of being invisible, but it is just the opposite of that, right? We are probably the most influential and the most visible, but yet the most unrecognized. And so when I think about when I write or when I sing or when I talk about things, it's really important for me to put myself in the center. And when I think about the work that I do, I want to inspire that in other women and girls, for them to put themselves in the center, because the world that we live in really wants to push us to the margins, and that's just not where we're supposed to be, particularly in our own lives. Yeah.
I was hooked on Ebonics since birth, a family jewel worth more than the earth. I was an onyx born genetically, rising above hypothetically, theoretically, kinetically. My first phonics explode more vibrant than the theories of Big Bang. way above normal comprehension or divine intervention. I think back in retrospect because I speak another language, another dialect. I call it cultural communication. My people are used, but I use these words like exploitation, bringing your world to a higher elevation. I speak slang, but speaking slang doesn't mean that I hang with the gang and yo usually gets the attention of my bro. No, there was no disrespect intended. So when the offer is extended, don't be offended, yo. You see, I knew just what money meant when he called honey a dime piece. Not in terms of dollars or cents, but a fine woman, a sexy female, not funding for something that's wholesale or retail. You see, where I'm from, a nice car is called a fat whip. And the place where we live, my peeps, they call it the crib. Now, perhaps our dap is more like your handshake. Let me rap for a minute as I map out the difference, you see. My best friend or my dog, that might seem abnormal. But a dog is a man's best friend because he's loyal. They smoke ism, bomb, chronic, trees. Now that's AKA what you might call Mary Jane, herb, pot, or weed. Now I run to the L store before 11 to grab myself a blunt and a couple of 40s. A deuce comes in handy with a quick snack, but trust me, people, you could never, ever go wrong with an icy cold filtered 12-pack. Yeah, I mean, do you know what I mean? In an instant, I blended words in a sentence, and I offered education through my word interpretation. I shift lists of verbs and nouns, words and sounds, rebound and pound. Heavily synchronized melodies hypnotize your mind. In high fidelity, I'm incredibly genetically superior. Kinetically move through your whole area. Big bang, my first phonics explode, a black onyx, breaking all ebonical codes, electronical modes, overload brainwaves, and it's shocking. I'm sneaking it to your mainframe. I'm taking this way above normal comprehension, flying to my world of divine intervention. In an instant, I blended words in a sentence and offered education through my word interpretation.
The song is by my friend, the late, great Larry Leon Hamlin, and is a part of the American Musical Lexicon. It's called Double Scoops. Joshua?
I need to start from over here.
All right, come on in there.
Lingua Americana. What does that mean?
Language of America.
Double scoop, double scoop, double scoop, double scoop, double scoop. Talking about real ice cream, 2 scoops, baby.
Out from the great strip city, a train came. Its cargo was pain and steel, determined to crush the will. Out from the great strip city, pain and steel rode the train. While at yesterday, clouds were rolling away and questions were rolling.